Hello and welcome to Borrow My Belief podcast, the last episode of 2024 as we move into 2025. And perhaps you're thinking about what 2025 is going to look like, what was 2024 like for you. And this week I've decided to do an episode where I talk about what I've discovered from manifestation that other people do not seem to talk about. And this is something that I am really, really passionate about. So let's see how long I can ramble on without a guest on this very subject. So we're at that time of year when many people start to think about their New Year's resolutions, certainly in the UK at least anyway. And what does the next year look like to me? And if you're anything like I used to be, you would think about or write your list of New Year's resolutions, decide that you were doing some kind of reset and that the next year was going to be phenomenal and you were going to achieve all these things. And then however long it would last for you, probably similar to me, you would find yourself in the second or third week completely giving up on the whole thing. And this went on for many, many years for me. I created vision boards. I was really good at vision boards, still do vision boards. I set myself some incredible goals year after year. I was really into manifestation. I'm 55 now. I've been looking into that and self-development for 33 years now, since I was about 22. I would manifest a lot, but there were some things that just eluded me. And for me, there were things like I want to do 10 pull-ups, or I want to give up chocolate and eating sugar, things like that. And I couldn't understand what it was that was getting in the way of me achieving these goals when other people could. I'd even join programs and do various things. And I started to notice that year upon year, I had exactly the same goals and exactly the same things hadn't been achieved. And in fact, I've been working with some people recently, I'm a mentor who we've been doing visualizations over the last year from 2024, and they've seemed disappointed that they didn't achieve what they wanted to in 2024. This is not bad news. This is really, really good reflection. This is great information. And this is what people forget and they don't seem to see. So I'm going to break this down and why it is that some of these manifestations don't work. And one of the reasons is because it's not what your heart wants. It's not really in alignment with you. Simple as that. It might be a should or something that you've seen on a commercial or what society's taught you, and it's not really aligned with your soul and what your soul wants. So take a moment to think about this and think about people that you know, the aspirations that we have, and how similar they all are. Why is it that they're all similar? I know for me, I manifested the big house. It was gorgeous. I loved living in it. I lived in it for 10 years. I manifested a great marriage, my kids, and everything that society showed me through TV, through commercials that I would want. I had 4 wardrobes of clothes. I loved my clothes. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with all this, but I did all that and climbed the ladder, great paying job. But how many people want that? I mean, it depends what country you live in and what your society is teaching you. But where did you get that from? Where did you get the idea that you wanted those things? And is it coming from your heart? So that's the first thing. Um, If it is, then that's great. Like I said, I manifested all those things, thoroughly enjoyed them until I didn't, until I really started to feel into my heart and what I wanted. I manifested doing triathlons and exercising a lot. And then I started to notice that, where is this coming from? It was an addiction for me. It wasn't coming from a space of love for myself, certainly. I certainly wasn't loving myself with the regime I had and the addiction to the amount of exercise I was doing. And now I embark on exercise with love for my body. It looks very, very different. So that's the first thing. And the next thing is, when you move towards what it is that you really want, once you realize what you really want from your heart, and I have exercises to work that out. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, please do ask. So when you work out what you really want and you sit with that, there's more passion about it. There's a chance that you're going to manifest it. And what I mean by a chance is there's a why behind it. So for me at the moment, now 2025, as I'm feeling into it, it's launching more group programs, working with people, working with more clients one-on-one, manifesting a property where people can come for healing. And there's a real why behind that for me. There's a real purpose, and it goes beyond any challenge. So when I undoubtedly become discouraged and there's obstacles in my way, there's something driving me from underneath. It's coming from a deeper part of me. And I'm more likely, when I start feeling sorry for myself or I move into a victim consciousness, I'm more likely to pick myself up, use the techniques that I learned, and get back on track and keep going. So what's your why? Why is it? Is there a purpose behind what you want to do? Is there some kind of service? So for me, I want to pay forward what I learned over this last 33 years, so other people have the tools that I have. So I'm launching my first group program in January. And when I first started putting that together, so I'd only mentored one-on-one before, I was so afraid. There was so much fear coming up in me. And what drove me through that was meditations, my why, who's going to miss out if I don't do this? What are things going to look like for me at the end of 2025 if I don't? Will I be disappointed in myself? So this is the kind of thing. And then when we step into something that we want, we start off in January, what happens is everything that we are not, that comes up in our face. And so what do I mean by that? Well, we're after something, right? So me with the group programs, that version of me that does the group programs, that advertise them, that put the message out there, that shows up on them, that put it together, she's not the version of me that I was when I first dreamed of that. I was required to move through the fear and anything that was in my system that was in the way of that. So some people call it limiting beliefs, other people call it shadows, other people talk about inner child work. I've written about all this in my book as well. So I'll actually put the link to my book in the comments section. It's called Borrow My Belief. And the whole idea is, if you don't believe it, you can borrow my belief for now. So what happens is all this comes up, and I'm going to use an example of a New Year's resolution that's to do with health and fitness. So let's say that you decide that you're going to get healthy, and that's what you're doing in 2025. So you think about, right, well, okay, well, I'm going to join a gym because that's what I've heard is good for getting healthy, and I'm going to start eating healthy. And you're all ready, you've researched it, you've perhaps joined some program, and you've joined a gym, you've joined some slimming program, you know what you're doing. And you set off, and here it is, 2025, and on you go. And First day might be really good. You might feel a bit not so great because you've been out the night before, but it goes really well. And by the time you get to the end of that first day, you're thinking, oh my God, this is great. I can do this. This is wonderful. I'm on it. Your motivation's there and you're doing it. So it's wonderful. And then you go into day 2, probably feeling a little bit more lethargic. Might be being a little bit of crash because you're not eating sugar anymore. Your body's a little bit achy because you went out and did a little bit of exercise, but you're still feeling good. You're still on it. You're doing it. 2025 is going to be great. Day 3. I've been there a few times. Day 3 is often when things really start to hit and your body's really aching, the motivation's dipping, you're back at your job that you're not so keen on, you're absolutely knackered because you've been doing all this extra stuff, and all you can think about is sugar. So this is when things start to happen. And that version, this is the magic. This is amazing. And that version of you that wasn't fit, that didn't eat healthily, she's still here. She or he is still here. And they're letting you know what's going on. So, for example, you might be having thoughts like, oh, I'm really, really, really craving some sugar. My body's aching. I really need sugar now. And this is your opportunity to meet that and look at that and go, oh, okay, what do I believe? What do I actually believe? That I think I need sugar now. It may be that you do some journaling. I'm not going to go into this in detail on here, but this is what I do with clients, and this is what I've learned. It may be that you do some journaling, you do some exercises, and you learn, oh my God, I've got a belief that sugar makes me feel better. And that might come from when you were a child, and if you fell over and your mum gave you sugar, or there was always dessert after dinner and it made you feel really good. And so here we've got some habits that we're in, and your body's in, and your mind's in, and your whole system's in, and it comes to after dinner, and you feel like, I really need that dessert. Or you might go to a friend's house who's decided to have a gathering after the new year, and they've got some kind of leftover box of chocolates, and after dinner everybody's looking at them, eating them, and you turn around and you go, actually, I'm on a diet now and I've decided not to eat sugar and I'm not going to have any. And then all your friends turn around and say, come on, it'll not hurt you, go on, have some this time. And you come across something else that you used to be. And this has actually happened to me. I once went to one of these gatherings, and the person was, they brought out a dessert they'd made, and I'd given up sugar. And I expressed it to everyone, and I got that very response. Come on, it's not going to hurt you, just this one. Come on, have it. And all sorts went through my mind. So, first of all, I was craving that sugar. So, I was dealing with the physical aspect. Secondly, I didn't want to say no. I didn't want to say no to my friends. I didn't want to be that person. There was fear in my system. I didn't know how to say no at that time. It's a long time ago. So that was coming up for me. Thirdly, I didn't want to disappoint my friend who'd made that dessert because I felt like it was showing them that I didn't like the dessert. So there was the people pleasing. So really, actually, I didn't give up sugar that year, but really, actually, what happened was that 3 pieces of information were coming up for me in that very moment that showed me what I needed to work on and change to get what I wanted. Now, that was about maybe 7 years ago, and I still have a thing with sugar, by the way. That was maybe 7 years ago, and I had the dessert, and that was me done and dusted, right back on the sugar. So, what I had the opportunity to do was sit with it, sit with myself, sit with the uncomfortableness. And this is why we give up. This is exactly why we give up, because it requires sitting with the uncomfortableness. And that normally involves an emotion. So everything that I have changed in my life, everything I have transformed, and I've done a lot, there has been no exception that I have had to sit with an emotion to achieve what it is that I want to achieve. I've had to sit with an uncomfortable emotion. Now, sometimes I've sat with that for months on end. Sometimes I've managed to go straight to it and sit with it and feel it. And when you become efficient at this, it does happen quite quick. You can do it quite quick. But in the beginning, I suffered a lot because the mind comes in, thoughts come in, you don't want to feel the emotion. Think about it in the UK, and I'm sure in other countries, America, many other countries, we're taught that certain emotions are bad and we resist it as much as we can. When we were kids, our parents didn't want us to feel emotions. When we went to school, our teachers didn't want us to feel emotions. I like to use the example of you're in class and you don't understand something and you want to ask the teacher, and it doesn't seem appropriate to ask the teacher. And everybody else around you seems to know what they're doing and they're scribbling away, and you've got no clue. And in that moment, you feel terrible. You want to cry, you want your mom, you want your dad, you want to ask somebody, and you can't. You've learned that it's not appropriate to feel those emotions, so you stuff it down. And this is what's happened to us. We just stuff it down. So as an adult, when we want to transform, all these emotions are coming up and we just keep stuffing them down. And so what do? We eat them away, or we exercise them away, or we become obsessed with our job, or we all these different drink, all these different addictions that we have. But I can promise you that if you develop a practice, meditation's the best, and you learn to sit with what's coming up for you, eventually you will move through it and those emotions won't come up, and you will be able to step into the manifestation that you're creating. So if I'd have said no to that cake, I would have discovered that my friends were still my friends. They didn't hate me. I could say no, which I've since discovered that I can say no. I am many years on, and I'd have discovered that I could handle the emotions that were coming up, and I'd have managed to give up cake and sugar a lot sooner than I did. And it's, like I said, no exception. And because I know this now, like I said, I've got tools. So with my group program, what I did on that very day was I woke up the day that I was launching it. I woke up in the morning and I lay there with my feelings. And quite frankly, to me on that day, that felt like terror. And I just lay there with it. Yoga Nidra is a really good way to come to your body. That's what I use sometimes. That's what some of my clients use. Sent it to friends and they've said it's really helpful. Feel into the body, feel what's coming up for you, feel where it is, talk to yourself, soothe yourself. That's what I did. And what I did then was I imagined myself in the evening, talking to myself in the evening and saying to this version of me who had done it, how did you do it? How did you get on with it? How do you feel now? What's going on with you? And this version of me was, I'm so excited. I did it. It was launched. I feel really good. And so what happened for me that day actually is I got up and I advertised it and I got an inquiry. And by that evening, I had somebody who was interested in coming on my program. So that's what I felt really, really drawn to talking about today as we go into this 2025, and motivated to inspire you to keep going, to gather the tools, and to speak about something that nobody speaks about. People in manifestation seem to speak about get into a high vibration state so that you can manifest your desires. And then what happens? What happens? You get yourself in this high vibration state and everything's really great. And then something triggers you, and all of a sudden you're in a low vibration state and you think there's something wrong with you and you can't do this. And why can everybody else do it? And then you try to get yourself into this high vibration state. And it's valid that you've been triggered. It's valid that you feel the way you do. There's nothing wrong with you. Every human being deals with emotion. There's nothing wrong with emotion. But if you can go straight to it, not ignore it, love it, and feel it, then that emotion will pass through you like it's meant to pass through you, and you will be back in that high vibration state. So, with that being said, I'm going to wrap this up and look forward to 2025. Happy New Year to anybody who's watching this at the end of 2024, starting into 2025. And if you'd like to know more about different exercises that I've created, then just get in touch. I'm happy to send you some PDFs for you to give them a go. Much love.